Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Queens of Poker. We have a very special guest. It's Julie and Sandy, and we have Lupe Soto, founder of the LIPS Ladies International Poker Series and WPA, which is the Women's Poker Association. And Lupe is going to tell us all about herself and these fabulous ladies organizations. You are the OG. LIPS is 20 years old this year. I mean, that's a long time, and it's a little bit different for ladies in poker now. I want to know like what it was like when you started, how you started, eventually get to like what were the issues in getting more ladies to poker? Why was it so many men and not so many women? And generally like what it's like now. And then the issues with getting our tournament scheduled and all the hard stuff that you do.
Hmm. Well, I am probably a lot of what you see in a poker room. I was the girl who sat behind the boy while he played poker. My then boyfriend turned husband, he had gone. We did date night on Friday nights, and we would take our $100 and we would go down to our local casino. And I lived in San Diego, so I would go to Saquon Casino, which was about a couple miles from our house, and he would go to the poker room after I blew my $100 at the blackjack table in about 10 seconds. And I would sit there for hours watching him because literally there was no limit anything at the time. It was limit stud, and he would play high low stud for hours, and I would watch him, and I would socialize with all the people at the table and stuff. And it was about after about 6 months that he was playing, and I started really critiquing his play. I was like, why the hell were you in that hand? You should have been gone a long time ago, or he should have raised or whatever it was. And so he finally got fed up with my criticisms, and he gave me another $100 and said, go over there to that podium and go get your own damn table.
Nice.
So that's what I did. And I started playing, and it was love at first card, I guess. I just enjoyed the heck out of it. It was fun, it was stimulating. There was about two other women that played in that room regularly. And I was always in awe of them. I was terrified, to do it myself, but they were pretty amazing women. And I would see them, you know, here and there, and I would ask them questions about how they played. And they were both Asian women, and they said they'd been playing their whole lives, that it was very prominent in their culture. And so they were very confident at the table. And so I used to watch them, and boy, no kidding, those ladies were tough, man. So I emulated them. I'd say, okay, I need to get a backbone. And I would be inside screaming, terrified for a raise, but on the outside I didn't show it, because I had them as an example. And so I would be real tough on the outside. And I just loved it. And so because I was in San Diego, it was very, very unique. In San Diego, it is the home of Ocean's 11 Casino. It was another card room about 45 minutes from where I lived in Oceanside, California. And they hosted the California State Ladies Poker Championship, and we had heard about it. These ladies had said that they were going to go. And I was like, oh my gosh, should I go to that? And it was 1990, I want to say 7 or 8, somewhere around there. And they said, just come, and they had a flyer, and they said, you would have to play uh, stud, Omaha, and Hold'em. You had to play all three games. And back then, it was a culmination of points. You played all of the events, and then whoever was the top point winner was the overall ladies champion for state champion, which, I mean, let me just say, they knew how to throw a freaking party. It was amazing. And they had food for every day. They put out a full spread. It was a lunch. Then there was tournament play. And then later on that night, they had entertainment. Either it was a band, a little band, or they had fashion shows. And they had,
Wow.
what do you call it when a talent show? where
Wow.
the players were putting on
That's
skits
It's a
and this and that and the
convention.
other.
Wow.
It was
How many
crazy.
players about? How many women would show up?
There was a lot. I want to say maybe 100.
Hundreds? 100. Wow. In
100. Well, for 100
1997.
women in a room at that in
Yeah.
that year,
In
Yeah,
was
that's a lot.
craziness.
1997.
You know,
Wow.
it
Okay.
was amazing. So, and I was introduced to people like Linda Johnson and Jan Fisher and Marsha Wagner and Susie Isaacs and just these mega people in the industry. And I remember being in total awe. And over the years, of course, I got to know them very, very well. But they were wonderful and they were fun and they were welcoming and I don't know. I just was in love. So that was the first year I went. So by the next year, I was like, everybody I knew who played was female and played poker. I said, you got to come to this. This was so much fun. And so I met a couple more people and I got to see the people I met the year before. And it was the camaraderie was phenomenal. So I was blessed in that I knew what poker could be for women because in between the months of that event and other events, it was never like that, right? So I had already started, well, no, I take that back. In 2000, I spent a lot of time on the internet. It was the brand new in the internet. And at the time, poker was huge on the internet.
Right.
There was places that you don't see now with poker stars but it was like weird names like Planet Poker and you don't see those names anymore. But anyway, there was an online group, an MSN group,
Oh, funny.
and
Chat
it
room.
was poker players and they were talking about, oh well, let's go play over here and then let's go play over there. And I just loved it. And there was a lot of women in there. It was shocking. So
Is
we
this the
had
Victory
at
Poker or Poker
Victory
Chicks?
Poker.
Okay,
Victory
great.
Poker Players is what it was at first. It was
Okay.
an MSN group. And it was run by a couple of guys and they were putting together a experience in Las Vegas. And my husband and we were like, okay, we play with these people online, but we don't know who they really are. It was very weird to have that relationship, kind of a disconnect. And I think it was in 98 they had the thing and we said, what the hell, let's go. If we go and they're weirdos, what's the big deal? We're in Vegas, we can go do whatever we want, right? So that's what we did. And we loved those people. They came from around the world. They came from Scotland and England and Canada and everywhere because it was the real internet.
Yeah.
So anyway, because of my background in web development, I told them, you know what? We should not be on MSN. We need to be our own little group. And so we took it off that and I registered victorypoker.com and we had our own forum. We grew our group to like 5,000 players and we were playing all over the place. And we used to have an online competition. It was the ladies once a month and the men's once a month. And then at the end of the year, we would do this. All the winners would get together and they would do a playoff to see who was better, the men or the women. It's kind of a fun thing. That was the first year. Well, then the second year, there was a lot of discussion about how poker is not gender specific and la la la, and we don't need to do that anymore. And so, as a group, they decided to not have that event anymore. Just have regular monthly championships and then a playoff at the end of the year, mixed group. Well, I said poo-pooed that.
Good. Yeah. And
And
who was
I
saying that?
said,
The
"Poo-pooed
men?
that."
Sorry, was the men or the women bringing up that?
It's not gender
Just a
specific.
generalization of players. They were all, well, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. I mean,
But I
at the
mean,
table, we can kick your butt no matter who you are.
so men
you
and
know.
women had the same feeling, or did the women want to have that specification?
I think there was a vocalization that everybody didn't want it
Okay.
until it went away. And then
Okay.
the women were like, oh my gosh, I really miss
liked
our
it.
events.
Yeah.
They were so much fun, blah, blah, blah. So I opened pokerchicks.com
Right.
and it
love
was
to see that.
CHIX. pokerchicks.com. That was in 2000. It was the first online forum for female poker players. And shoot, we grew that sucker a lot. I mean, we just had women from all over the world playing. Any room that we went to online to play, we said, you need to come over here. And because we're doing all these fun things together, we're doing this and we're doing that. Now, mind you, in the interim, I go to Ocean's 11 and I get this live experience as well as the camaraderie that we had online.
Mhm.
And it was like, these women need to experience what I experienced over at Ocean's 11. Well, what I didn't know. So that's when I started Lips Tour, Ladies International Poker Series. And it was going to be, well, what it is today. But back then, it was like, okay, yeah, we're going to do what they do at Ocean's 11, and we're going to take it to this location and then to that location and la 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 la. Well, in 2004, when it started, but I actually, started pitching it in 2003. There was only the World Poker Tour who was doing a third-party relationship in casinos, and they brought television, and they brought big money, and they brought la 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 all this stuff. I didn't bring nothing.
Yeah, you brought the chicks though. You did
Yes,
bring
if
the
we want
chicks.
to, we want to do this for girls.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
How
And they
hard was
kinda
it to
looked
get
at
it?
me.
Oh, sorry.
What's that?
I said, how hard was it to get it going? Because WPT
Putting
had
dynamite
TV and
behind the
everything.
door and trying to get them to open it.
Right.
They wouldn't take my calls. There was a lot of, oh, that's sweet, honey, kind of stuff.
Yeah, I still get that.
And when they say there's
Yeah.
no gender specific, that's what we mean when it is gender specific, when they treat
Oh.
us like we're not
Right.
professional players.
100%.
Exactly.
It was a
Yeah.
good old boys club.
Yeah.
Of course.
I still
Yeah.
hear it in
But-
casinos. Why do you need a special tournament for ladies? Why do you need a special table, a special stream? And if they don't get it, that's exactly why. But I can't even
They don't.
imagine how much
Yeah.
worse it was when did you have help or you doing this all yourself?
No, myself.
Mm,
Wow.
wow.
And it was
That's impressive.
a
Yeah, for
God-given sent, moment
Yeah.
when I went to Bicycle Casino in Los Angeles, and I told the marketing director, who would not really take my calls, but she would answer my emails. And it was a female, and she said,
Nice.
I'm very, very busy. La 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 la. I don't
Yeah.
have a whole lot of time, and I don't know if I have time for you. Basically, it was a time factor. So I said, okay, I'm going to go to Bicycle Casino. And I left her a message, and I said, I'm here, and I'm going to sit in your deli.
And wait,
I don't
that's
care
great.
if it takes an hour or 5 hours or whatever
Yeah.
to give me 5 minutes.
Oh,
If you would do that, I would appreciate it. And she said, oh, today's a horrible day, blah, blah, blah. Let me see what I could do. Well, about 4 hours later, she says, I can meet with you for lunch, or, around lunchtime.
Nice.
And I said, great, let's do that. And I said, I'll be down here. This is what I look like, come grab me. So she did. And her name was Kelly O'Hara. She was the director of marketing for the Bicycle Casino. And she came down, and I had this really great presentation in a binder and everything. And I was just so proud of it. And she started talking to me, and she was asking questions. And then she was looking through. She goes, oh, this is. She goes, I'll tell you what, why don't you come up to my office? So we took a little ride up to her office, and she had the best office I've ever seen.
Really?
It was very much like a living room in her office. It was very
Are they
comfortable and cozy.
upstairs above the casino floor?
Yeah, it was up in the administrative parts of the casino. And
Okay.
she was lovely.
Right.
She got it. And she not only listened to everything I had to say, she just shook her head the entire time going, yeah, this is great. This is great. I really love this. I really love this. And she said, I just came off of the summit for the World Poker Tour. And they had, I think, maybe 10 properties or 12 properties or something like that had signed off on their charter, like their initial run. And she says, I'm going to call those people, because I just spent, the last 5 days with them, and I'm going to tell them that when you call, I want them to listen. So she got the phone while I sat there. Now, mind you, the hours are going by. This
Mhm.
very busy woman has me now for 2, 3, 4 hours in her office. And she's going on and on. She's calling everybody and she's leaving messages and
That's
she's
great.
talking to people and she says, this girl is great. And listen to her. Even if you don't agree to do it, you need to listen to her message. I mean, she's an amazing woman, right?
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, I said, you really remind me of this woman that I met at Ocean's 11. And she goes, at Ocean's 11? I said, yeah, I went to the California State Ladies Poker Championship and her name is Billy Brown. Do you know her? And she gave me the weirdest look. And she goes, why? She goes, are you pulling my leg right now? Like, no. I just think that you're phenomenal and she was phenomenal and she was just such a big part of my inspiration and stuff. And she goes, Billy is my mother.
Oh, wow. What a great
Mm.
coincidence.
God
I
shot
was like,
there. Wow.
are you kidding me?
Wow.
So that, I mean, when you talk about all the planets aligning and all
Mhm.
that stuff
Right.
for the
Whew.
right time, the right place, this was it. And so I was fortunate in that when I did make other calls, those people did answer. And not all of the people I think that were on the summit, um, they not necessarily, not all of them said yes, but they actually agreed to ask other people that they knew in the industry to listen. And so I was able to pick up some properties that way. And that was the beginning. And I think in our first year, we had, I don't remember exactly, but I want to say 6, 8 properties that said yes. And as long as you have 2, you're a series,
Yeah.
right?
So you have
So
6 to 8 now? 6 to 8 properties?
I think like in the beginning, and I can't remember all of them, but they were big because they were World Poker Tour stops.
Of course. Wow.
So there was some
Huge.
branding and all of that kind of stuff. So that was the beginning, and
Amazing.
I got better and better and better at the arguments, as to why we need this and why should I even consider you. And I wasn't asking them for a lot of money. I was asking them for $5 per person, you
Okay.
know. And I
Yeah.
mean, to this day, we only do $10 per person, which is ridiculous
See, I
because
don't
it's all
even
for
know how
us to
any
cover
of
the
that.
expenses of
What
Yeah.
is the
making a trip
$5 per person
somewhere.
to be part of the LIPS
Yeah, we have
organization?
no idea how that works. So
What does that mean? It's $10 a person. What does that
it's
So
entail?
basically, when you go out to let's say you go to a Lips Tour event, in the fees that are in there, it's structured in so that
Right.
the Lips Tour receives some promotional money for
good.
your entry when you go in,
Great.
right?
Okay.
So I mean that
Awesome.
anybody who's a
Yeah.
third party, you're doing that. If you go
Like,
to a Run Good, if you go to World Series of Poker, if you go to WPT, they are paying you. The
okay.
player is paying an extra fee on top of
A
the
casino
fees
fee
that
or
are
like a
normally
tournament
charged.
fee. Yeah, it's an
Yeah,
extra fee that they take out of the guarantee.
That's
Good.
right. So
interesting.
you do that.
That's good to
Do
know.
you have any idea like what a WPT or a WSOP charges per person? Because I can imagine it's significant amount of your time, significant money outlay for all that I've seen you do at Ellipse series, the one in Vegas
It's
anyway.
different. It you know, it's very expensive if you're going to partner with some of these people. For me, I'm not that expensive.
Okay.
I'm because really that's all I'm doing is covering my expenses.
Right.
You
I'm
know,
willing to pay more if the card
I don't
rooms,
have
yeah,
employees. I don't
have
have,
females.
all this
Right.
stuff. And because I'm an internet person, I don't have a marketing department. I don't have, I don't have high overhead like these places do.
All the
And
staff.
sometimes I would like to speak on this because I have heard people say things like, why should I go to a ladies event that you're putting on and I have to pay $10? I can go over to this
Oh my
other
God.
ladies event that's being put on by a casino and they're not charging me that extra fee.
Well, they
And I'm
are. They're
like,
adding it into their buy-in, so they are kind
yeah,
of doing that.
but they're paying, in other
She
words,
means on top of that.
on
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
extra fee.
Right.
Let's say you go to I'm just going to give you an example.
please.
You go to a tournament and they're going to charge you $40 big on a $250 event, right? You're buying
Right.
$40 is going to go to the house.
Right.
Now you're going to go to a lips event and it's going to be $250. So you're paying an extra or $10, for that.
Right.
And people get mad over that. And I'm like,
That's silly.
I see that you get mad now.
Right.
Okay. And I can understand that. And because we are teaching you to be discerning with your dollars,
Yep.
right? That's good. But there wouldn't be a ladies event if
Exactly.
we didn't have that.
Right. Which is
Right.
why, yeah. And
And
go ahead.
it's and yet we still get a lot of grief sometimes.
Yeah.
But they don't give grief to WSOP.
Nope.
They don't give grief to WPT or to Run Good or to the Chris
Right.
Moneymaker Tour
Who
or anybody
probably,
else.
my point was they're probably making a lot more than $10 per person
Oh,
too, right?
Yeah.
From what
Yeah.
I get from it is they're bigger names. So of course they're gonna take
Now,
that
for
and
now.
not complain about it. But because you're
And
not the
also,
World Series.
Sandy, familiarity.
Exactly.
They know
It's
me.
the same in anything,
Right.
in any
Right.
business,
Yeah.
in any
Yeah.
industry, familiarity is okay if they charge you more. If it's somebody
Mhm.
new that's up and coming, well, why are you charging the same amount? It's silly that that happens because you're both doing the same thing for everybody, but it's just they're more well known and they're more
Yes.
established. But until you also have to become established and get it. It's just everybody
She
starts
is
somewhere.
established
No, I'm
now,
just saying
but
everybody
yeah.
starts
Yeah.
somewhere and then
Right.
eventually
Well, yeah. And,
get up
it's
there.
like this year. I mean, I remember I heard somebody say, well, we're full disclosure. I mean, we put it on the freaking structure sheet.
She's very
we
very
show it. We
transparent
show
and
you, yes,
honest
you're
where
paying
other
this
places,
and
right.
that.
We have no
It's like
idea.
Right.
Right.
that's what it is. And so they see it and they're like, why am I paying to do this? And I just want them to understand, or I want women to understand. There wouldn't be a ladies' week, honey, if we weren't
Exactly.
there. If I
Right.
didn't start it, it wouldn't be there.
Right.
You would not have a ladies' week
So
Right.
everybody
in
should
the
thank you.
summer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for doing it. 'Cause
Thank
if it
you.
wasn't for
Yeah.
you, it wouldn't have happened.
Can I
It's
just
I really
say,
appreciate
I
it.
want to say my experience, why I always try to get to the Lips events after the first one I went to. I went to Vegas by myself, which I don't do that often. I've been married a long time, to play the WPT, but more to play those Lips events, right? So I did wind up doing a milestone, playing the Encore Ladies, or the Win event. And then when I busted out there, I won the milestone, busted out there, went to Resorts World and started hitting as many tournaments of the Lips that I could. And it was just a whole, at the WPT at the Win, it was so high intense, stressful, dog eat dog in the women's tournament. Maybe it was just my tables that I was at 2 tables before I busted
No,
out.
it's a very high-end champion event.
Yeah, it was
Right.
stressful as heck. I don't like that. Not good for my adrenals. It wasn't fun. I don't usually play that high of a limit either, 1100. And when I went to Lips, it was the opposite. Resorts World, they were so nice. Lupe came up, hi, welcome. I met all these women, AJ and Terry and Ashley Frank and Barbara Enright, and just the nicest, down to earth, but they're crushers. But there were a few that were intense. I'm not going to say they weren't, but that's probably their personality. Like I can be the same, but it was just so much. It was like more like a convention or a party, and I didn't even know anybody, but most people were not cliquey. They were friendly. It's just the energy that I think you, Lupe, set up for it, and the behavior that's been modeled, which I will always support women's tournaments. I wanted to be in Grayton this week because they're doing it. It just, with my work and this, it just wouldn't jibe, but I'm going to try to
Right.
set those up because
Mhm.
nobody in Southern California is doing this. And
Oh,
I would rather save my
you
money. Yeah. Yeah. We'll go
I'm
there
telling you,
next. Yeah.
Southern California is killing me right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Me too.
it's the other thing that happens. And I mean, if I did my work, my dream, my passion, and I did it successfully, I work myself out of this because I want every operator to be doing ladies events.
I agree.
I just don't want them to do it on a Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Or
Right.
on
I want
freaking
them to
Mother's
make it
Day.
a feature event on Saturday
Or the
at
day
Yeah.
9
after
to 10
Christmas.
or 11 in the morning, so women can get there and they can, you know, they can be in a higher end event, you
Mhm.
know, for a ring. I think that's amazing. I
I
want
Totally.
feel
that.
like
I,
we
I
get
really want that.
dismissed a lot. I know, and I feel like we get dismissed a lot. I tried to get one of the at Hollywood Park. I was asking my friend, I said, how can we get some ladies tournaments here? This is a really good place to have a tournament. There are a lot of women that want to play tournaments, and we can get over 100 to 150 girls to come down. And they're like, oh,
Mhm.
I don't know. They're so dismissive about it. They just don't care. It's really
Well,
frustrating.
let me
Can you
share
explain
with
to us?
you some history.
Yes, please.
We have been sued 5 times in California.
Wow.
Who's
Okay.
we?
By men,
Lips?
I'm assuming.
Lips and operators. Because
The card rooms, you mean?
Yeah, let
yes,
her
like
explain it.
there's
Okay.
a group of guys that just thought, oh, we're going to make some easy money by going after card rooms for discrimination. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dirty
And so
dogs.
it is not fun to always
Mm-mm.
risk something like that as an
Yeah.
operator.
Okay.
Now, we've figured it out. We know how to do it so that nobody gets discriminated against. We have figured out a system where, you know, everybody's protected, and those people who play don't have to worry about any of that stuff.
Good.
It's just that there's an added process. And, you know, when you go to somebody, a business, and you say, we want you to please do this. And yes, we have an added process, another system. For them, they view it as more work.
Of
Right.
course.
You
Yeah.
know, so they're not as
Admin
warm and fuzzy,
added.
and they're not, even if they believe in women in poker, they don't want to do the added work that it takes to support women only events. And they would much rather just, you know, make it a more welcoming environment for all players so that women feel better about coming. And that's half of our mission, right?
Right.
Is not only do we want you to be open and welcoming to every single player so that when they show up, they feel protected, they feel supported, they feel like there's policies in place in case something does happen.
Yep.
We want that for all players.
Right.
But we also want you to throw a ladies event, darn it.
Yeah. Like
You
what?
know?
The last one
What's
we've
the
had
problem?
here in LA was the one at Hawaiian Gardens, like 2 days after Christmas. That was the
Yeah.
last ladies tournament.
The one that
I
said
don't
and friends,
understand.
ladies and friends on the trophy. And was more dudes. I mean, maybe there was a few more women. I have video I posted on my Instagram. We thought it would be a ladies tournament, but when we showed up, there was a lot. Like my first table had 4 guys and 5 women, I think, or 4 women. And then the final table had a couple men at it, but thankfully a
Because
man
they
did not
didn't
win.
use the process that we have created.
Okay.
And with that process, it does eliminate the people who show up just to play and they find out it's a
Okay,
ladies
and that's what
tournament
they
and they jump
did.
in it
And that's what
anyway.
they did. Yeah.
The bike did it a
But it
good one
also
last
prevents
time.
those women
Yeah.
who didn't use the process from playing as well. Okay, because
Okay.
they have to have pre-registered to be in that event.
Can you say what
Interesting.
that process is? Is that it? That they have to
There's a
pre-register as a woman?
pre-registration process.
I'd do
Yes.
it. I'd
They
be
have to
willing
come
to do
online,
it.
they have to come to Lips Tour, they have to pre-register, they
Mhm.
have to say, I'm gonna be there. And then they're on the list. They're invited, they're gonna be able to play. They pre-registered.
Okay. Do the
They didn't
rooms
pay their
know?
money. They just pre-registered to play,
Yeah, I would do it
to
in a
be
heartbeat.
invited to the invitational to play.
Oh, an
Okay.
invitation. I was wondering if that would
Yes.
do
Yes.
something because
So if a guy comes on and he says, well, I want to play that, we have to let him, which I think there's going to be. It's not those
if he
guys that are playing the
pre-registers though.
events, guys. It's the
Right.
girls who are playing because they know that they have to pre-register, and then it's the guys who showed up to play, and there's nothing but that to play, so they
Right.
jump in.
Well, the bike did a good one the last time, which was at least 2, maybe 3 years ago, where they had another event starting 30 minutes later. That was a higher guarantee. I think the ladies was maybe a 20 or a 30. super
Nice.
fun. And we bust out, we go to the other one, but not
Sure.
one dude did I see at the ladies tournament
Right.
because I
Mhm.
think a lot of them, and I've asked them why, no offense, but why are you in this ladies tournament? And do you want the trophy? And most of them would say, I just wanted to play. And I
And
asked
this
if
is
I
what
could
was on.
buy in. Yeah. And I said, that makes sense. But some of them are just kind of just want to, it's an ego thing or who knows. They just want to show that they're better than ladies or yeah. Some of them said stupid stuff where I just tuned it out and just
Mhm.
keep it in there for future reference when I'm playing with them.
We are in talks with a couple of locations. We want to come back to Southern California. We
I
want them
want
to
you to.
be involved in the women's market. There's again, they run everything up the chain, right?
Right.
And they're some of them are more corporate than others.
Right.
The ones that are less corporate are more apt to be welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna have to wait and see.
Right.
So far, it's
I
been no,
hope. Yeah. I have a few people
and
I'll
I've been
send
trying
you.
this since
Yeah.
what, August?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
So
since
I keep trying.
August.
I keep
Yeah.
trying.
Thank you for trying.
Thank
And
you.
when there
Yeah.
are females at the helm, it is
Yeah.
a little bit more open.
Yeah.
They want to see it more. There's not as many as there were in leadership right now.
Okay. Bummer.
In some of these Southern California rooms.
I think the
So
Commerce has a female marketing director. I met her
No, the
during the
commerce owner
WSOP.
is a woman. The old lady,
Oh, the
the
owner,
person
but
that
yeah,
owns
but I
is a
mean,
woman.
I don't know how much they get involved, but that might I don't know about the owner, but the marketing director, I don't remember her name off the top of my head because I met 5 of them at once during the WSOP, but did you know that it's a woman there? I have a
yeah.
friend who works there. I'll try to get that info. I wrote it down too when I met her. I'll get
Mhm.
that for you.
I,
All
it
right,
is
Because I
actually,
sure.
I do believe it's
I'll talk to
a woman
anybody.
marketer.
okay, I
And
think she
we
plays
used to
also.
do some amazing events in Southern California, and it's time for another one. I mean,
Oh my
come on.
God, so overdue.
Yes,
So
yes.
overdue.
So I would
Yeah.
like to have a big event, or maybe 2 days there.
That would be great. We'll help promote
So
it.
that women can come for a
Mm-hmm.
full weekend.
Totally. We're all over it.
Yeah, I mean it's due. And I still have the California State Ladies Poker Championship name. The Bicycle Casino gave it to me.
Nice.
Oh,
So
really? California
mhm.
State Ladies
They
Poker
gave me the
Championship.
Queens events too.
That's amazing. Awesome.
Hmm.
So
Love
that's
that.
what we're all going to manifest and start we just take,
Ooh,
yeah,
yes.
we
Let's do
manifest, we
it.
take the baby steps. And I think within a year, we're going to have some ladies, women's tournaments in Southern California.
Yeah,
Yes,
At
I
least
think that
one.
they
definitely.
just need to, and if we can just kick it off and then they can take it from there. I mean, I'm I'm older now.
Oh, stop.
When I running around in the world, 20 years ago was a lot easier than it is
Are
Yeah,
you
I
now.
get
still
that.
doing lips on your own? Like you're doing it all by yourself, or do you have people that help
I
you?
have a couple of people who help me.
Okay.
Tina helps me up in the northeast region,
Great.
up in New Hampshire and Boston and
Okay.
that area. Um, I can always count on Tara for like Florida and stuff. And Bonnie Weitzel has been doing the midsection. She's been
That's
doing
great.
because this year
Mhm.
we wanted to blow it out of the park. We wanted to make sure we had at least 20 stops for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And
Right.
we've been able to accomplish that, which I'm very excited
Wow.
about. And so I couldn't have done it by myself. Now, well, I guess now I'm in good health, but I had to have a knee replacement. So,
Mm,
that getting that
knocks
to
you
where I
back.
can move and
Mm-hmm.
travel and stuff. I'm just now feeling like I'm very strong again, but that's not an easy process. Let me just
No.
say, don't get
Yeah.
old, people. It's a
Yeah.
Yeah,
bitch.
nothing gets easier.
It catches up for
Definitely.
Yeah,
sure.
I'd
Yeah.
love to pivot really quick if you don't mind. I'd
sure.
love to ask you about how or what motivated you to establish the Women's Poker Hall of Fame in
Uh,
like 16 years ago.
okay,
I
so
think it's
again,
incredible.
here we're talking about when I entered into the industry, there were women who had already been playing
Right.
for 20 years, and they were rock stars. It was Linda Johnson, it was Jan Fisher, and
Mm-hmm.
like I said, Barbara Enright, Susie
Crushers.
Isaacs, Marsha Wagner. I mean,
Mhm.
rock stars. They weren't
Right.
just playing; they were big players, and having major successes. So, I was very curious about these women, and then there were these women like Billy Brown, who was putting on this phenomenal event down in California and starting the ladies championship, and then I met her daughter, who was the director over at the bicycle casino. So we're talking about, I was being introduced to people like Phyllis Carroll. I mean, you know, wow, women, and nobody knew them. If you were a woman in the game, you didn't know who they were.
I don't know who the last one
Unless
is.
you were an active player. And a
Mhm.
lot of these women were playing in Vegas and stuff like that, that were, unless you were at that level, which
Right.
I certainly wasn't. I was a very recreational, I'm still a recreational player, a
Me too.
recreational player and playing online. So
Mhm.
I didn't know them. So when I learned about them and I bugged them to learn their history and saw what they had done in this industry, and they weren't being recognized.
Mhm.
Hello. I was like, this is ridiculous. And so by then, I had already been in the industry for 10 years. Since in 98 to 2008, when we actually established the first Hall of Fame, Women in Poker Hall of Fame class. I met a lot of people, and I knew that these women deserved recognition. And so I started asking around, saying, hey, what do you think about having a Women in Poker Hall of Fame? And don't you think this should happen? And on and on and on and on. And people were, yeah, really should. And so and that was interesting because that also, and I think, okay, I'm being a little egotistical, but I don't, and I
It's
shouldn't,
okay.
I'm not really.
It's okay.
I just think that there was so much conversation about why don't we have a Women in Poker Hall of Fame?
Mhm.
That people in the back end of the history or the people that were in the movers and the shakers in the industry, they nominated Barbara Enright to be in the Poker Hall of Fame that year.
Wow.
She was
So
the
she
first one
got inducted
nominated.
to the Poker Hall of Fame that year. That was
Wow.
the beginning of women being recognized on that size of a platform.
That's
Okay.
great. I mean, she
So we
deserves
also,
it. I mean,
that was our year as
Yeah.
well, where we
She's
inducted,
a
and Barbara was
doll.
inducted in ours as well, as she rightly should have been.
Mhm.
In our first year, it was Barbara Enright, Linda Johnson, Susie Isaacs, and Marsha Wagner.
Wow.
And the four queens.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
I think I
These
played with Marsha
gals
Wagner before.
were amazing for their own efforts. And of course, since then, now there's 20 something, 23, I think, 22, something like that, women in the hall. And
Do you have a
here
website
it
that
is.
people can go to and see the list of the
Yes,
women?
Women in Poker Hall of Fame, or WIPOF, WIPHOF.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And you can see the hall. You can see all the members that are in the hall. And every one of them are rock stars. Every single one of them. And we did take a break for 4 years because of COVID. COVID screwed us up. And
Yeah.
so last year was the first year back, and to catch up, we had 4 inductees. So we had 4 initial and then 4 this last time to kind of, get it back in gear. But we normally only have 2 to 3. And last year it was Vanessa Selbst,
You have a great
uh,
memory.
Angelica Hale, who's
Okay.
the vice president of WPT and
Okay.
a rock star herself in the championing women in poker. We had Jennifer Tilly, who literally put women in poker on the map when she won the World Series ladies event. And the 4th person was Terry King. And Terry King has been around this industry as a dealer, as a player, as a historian of
Okay.
poker for since the 70s as well. And she needed to be recognized for all the things that she's doing, and I hope that she continues doing the history around poker, because it's important to know. but,
Yeah, thank you for giving that
I'm looking at your
information.
website. I see that the selection process has just started. It
Yeah,
opens on August
how
15th.
do
it
we
actually
vote?
starts this month. We're in the process right now of getting the back end of the website ready to start accepting
Okay.
public nominations.
That's awesome. I love this. This
So
is
Yeah,
we
so
exciting.
that'll be happen by the end. It's supposed to be happen on the 15th, and we're behind a little bit, but
Okay.
So we
uh
would be able to nominate, or what do we have to join? And then how do we
there's no
vote?
joining. It is a public nomination, literally. It's because we cannot assume to know all women who are in the
Right.
game.
Okay.
And there are, of course, there's the prominent women that you hear about a lot. And I think that people need to be familiar with who's in it already
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah,
that
I'm
they
looking.
For
don't
sure.
continue to try and nominate somebody who's already been inducted. But
I think we need to nominate Kristen Foxen this year for her long.
well, I think that she just now becomes eligible for her age
Perfect.
because you have to be
Oh,
35, I think.
oh, really? I didn't
35.
know there was an age. Okay.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
an age. There's
35
an
and
age.
up?
Interesting. That's good.
Mhm.
I love that.
Well, I mean, because there are women who have come into this game. I'll give you an example. Somebody who's come in and she was a freaking shot up to the top, and she's not even in poker anymore. You know, and
Yeah.
Annette Elbersted.
Mm-hmm. I
She was
remember her.
she's
She gone now?
phenomenal.
I was wondering what
Well,
happened to her.
she's just turned her life around. She's not
Mhm.
in poker. She's doing podcasts, I think, or something like
Nice.
that.
I could see
But she's
that.
not even playing the game anymore.
Okay.
But so I think that there needs to be not just women who have had incredible success, but longevity.
Right. For
That they've,
sure.
they've they've dedicated their lives to the game, to the industry
I love that.
for a lot. So
I love that.
so basically what happens is the public nominates, they tell us why they feel that this person is deserving. And then the hall members uh whittle it down to a number. Like, you will find that it happens every year. We keep saying, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? But what happens is the hall members get together and they do their first, second, and third choices on that list of all the people. And then there's like a natural gap that happens. It's like there's like the top, like maybe 7 to 10,
Mhm.
or sometimes like this last time it was like there was 8, and then there was a significant drop to the next amount of people. So it was natural that those top 8 people should be on the ballot.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the hall members get to vote, and then there's a handful of media people that are invited to be on the voting panel.
That's wonderful.
Because they're the ones that really get the word out, right? And they're
Yes.
also the ones that should know what's happening in women in poker.
For sure. Who are the
Absolutely.
hall members and how did they get that designation?
Um, the women who have been voted into the hall,
Oh, the
those are the
past
hall members.
inductees are the ones that
Yeah,
They're the
vote
there's
for the new.
inductees.
about 3,
Smart.
6, 9.
Smart.
There's a bunch. There's a
And we've
few,
lost a
like
couple
about 30.
of hall members, and there's a lot of us that are getting old, so we need to make
It's
sure that the system works right. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
we lost Billy Brown before she was ever inducted. She was
I'm
actually
so sorry.
posthumously inducted.
Wow.
And we also lost June Field during the last session. The last I can't
Oh.
remember what year
I'm
she
sorry to
was.
hear that.
Well,
She
they're
was
going to be
2009. It's
they're,
either
She was 2009.
they're being remembered. I can do a screen share and show
yeah.
here is the Women in Poker Hall of Fame, and I will
All
roll it
right.
up. These are, it
Those
looks
were
You
the
like,
can go
women
to the
who were
hall.
at
Yeah.
the last one.
okay. I see Maria Ho, it looks like.
Yes.
Yeah, lucky me, I got inducted the same year as Maria Ho, and I had to take all
Wow.
my pictures with her.
I thought you looked
Not
familiar.
fair.
There you are.
Everyone looks
So,
beautiful.
I recognize the lady right there with the red hair. That's
Linda
Fisher
Johnson.
or Johnson. Yeah.
That's Linda Johnson.
Johnson, yeah, with the red hair.
Uh-huh.
They do, one of them or both of them does like a poker cruise thing, right?
Well, Linda Johnson and Jan Fisher, who is the third from the left there, she's also our MC because she does a phenomenal job. But anyway, Linda
Okay.
and Jan, they are co-owners in Card Player Cruises.
Yes, that's it.
And if you've
Yes.
never been on a Card Player Cruise, you need to go because it is a freaking blast.
I've been
And they
thinking
run
about
a
it.
full poker room while you're cruising. So
Yeah, it looks amazing. I'm on the email list. I haven't had a time to do it yet. But I also saw you guys had a cruise on your Lips page, didn't you? Some kind of
I'm
a
sorry.
boy.
My husband just
Oh,
passed by through and
oh, no
totally threw me
worries.
off.
I was saying, you guys had some sort of cruise on your web page as well. I think that I saw. Is
Yes,
that right?
we once one cruise a year of all their cruises that they do, we designate as a Lips and Chicks cruise. And the reason that we do that is, and it's not that the whole ship is all women. It's just that we make sure that there's one event in their tournament series that's dedicated to women. And
I love
so,
it.
while we're on that cruise, yeah, so that one's
This
happening
one?
in, the Lips and Chicks cruise.
There's some
And
great ones coming up
it's
in
kind of a
2025 on
reunion
the card
because
player. Yeah.
a lot of the women who've been around for a long time come on that one, and then of course there's all the ones that are new to the industry too. But it's a blast.
Looks really
And we take that
fun.
Mexican Riviera cruise, and there's some of us that have been on it a million times
I know
to the
it's coming
Riviera,
up.
but we don't care because we party in every
I
port.
bet.
It's a
It's
Yeah.
blast. It's an
great.
absolute blast.
It's coming up in March for 2025, 7-night Mexican
Yeah. I think
Riviera
I'm getting to where I'm
for
ready to do one of
$1,000
those.
for a 7-day, not including the taxes and port fees. But that's fantastic.
Take a
$1,000
look,
to go.
ladies and
I think it's
gentlemen. You
something
could
we have
bring
to
your
look into.
lady. So
Yeah.
the Caribbean's Navigator of the Seas, the boat is like everybody, but then a section of it is these ladies and they're putting on tournaments, correct?
Well,
Or
no. Well,
how does it work?
the conference room on the ship
Mm-hmm.
is transformed into a poker room,
I love that.
Okay.
That's
a full-on
fantastic.
poker room, and they have dealers and the floor and the
Wow.
board and everything. And then they also have tournaments, and
Yeah, every
it's
day, the
cash
whole time.
games. Anytime
Yeah,
that they're out to sea, they open it up.
So they
that's
don't
awesome.
usually have that on this particular ship. There's no poker room anyway. I don't know.
I
I've
think
never
they
been on a
just have,
cruise.
like, maybe in the
Cruises
casino,
usually
they might
have
have
no.
one table
Yeah,
that's a poker
cruises.
table,
Okay.
but
Okay. So this is put on
this
by
is
you
a full
guys, by Lips.
takeover.
That's
And
amazing.
you have
Awesome.
to be a player on this cruise with Card Player Cruises in order to play in that poker room.
So
Not
this
just any
Lips and
random.
Chicks and WPA is also Card Player Cruises.
Okay, so no, let me see if I understand this correctly.
Okay, because
Let's
you
get
did
this.
say you
So
have
it's
to be a
Card Player
player.
Cruises, right? They run this whole
Okay.
thing,
Oh, okay.
but we are featured on
Yes.
this particular cruise, and they host a tournament for us on that cruise.
Okay, got it. Love it. And I did see
It's
from
on
Card
top to
Player
sign
that they
up for
had
this.
cash in tournaments going all the time whenever they're at sea. Then when you pull
Mhm.
in, you go do other stuff. You see the beach or shop or
And we party
whatever. Yeah.
together, and
Yeah.
like, we
Have
take over
fun.
Noche Cocum when we get to Cozumel, and we just have a whole day there, and it's one of those all inclusives, that I think
Yeah.
it's like maybe $70 to go there, but it's like you get your food and you get your drinks, and we party, and we play a mean game of left, right, center, and we
You
have a
guys are
pool,
funny.
and we have the beach, and we have massages, and it's a blast.
Wow. That sounds
So yeah,
amazing.
It
Wow.
looks
it's
like
a
a
lot.
lot of fun. You can see at the bottom, it says the type of cash games they have upon request, or they have it if they want to add it. And it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm really looking into
Awesome.
this one for March
It's a
for
Okay.
blast.
the
Yeah.
Riviera
Yeah.
Gotta
cruise.
come if you haven't come. And
Yeah.
even if you don't get to join us on the Lips and Chicks cruise, you want to pick one of their cruises because it's
Yeah.
unlike any other cruise ever.
You are so busy. You're everywhere. Good for you.
I
This
love
is
it.
why I knew you were going to be a great guest for this because you are doing all this stuff.
It's a lot
Um,
of fun. I have
yeah.
a fun life.
Yeah, you
That's
do.
so
And you know what?
exciting.
You envisioned, I'm sure, and manifested and you made it happen. It didn't just come
Yeah.
to you. You've had a lot of baby steps put together
And
that
it's not that I've done it all myself. I mean, really, when nobody becomes successful without a team of fantastic tribal people. If yeah, you can
the group,
manifest it and think of it and then try it. And then if nobody supports it, it's nothing. So
right?
the women in this industry have embraced other women, and they
Mm-hmm.
support women. And it's
Yes.
like very, very important to me. And I just encourage, it's like, well, if I'm part of this, can I be part of that? And, well, yes, do not create a divide in our female population. please.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I'm
If
so
100%.
happy you're
If
saying that.
you
Yeah.
want to wear, yellow and green because that's what that group does, and you want to wear orange and
Yeah.
purple because that's what that, I don't care.
Right.
Be NASCAR, have a patch from
Right.
everybody,
100%.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
super, super important.
I join all of
Do
them,
not
and
be
yeah,
a part of somebody who tells you not to be,
I
okay?
agree. Yeah. The
Be
ones who are
part of
competing,
everybody.
if they're
Yeah.
competing against other women, no matter the organization, I feel like that's a red flag. There's something that they're not getting about. We need to unite for women, and the rest of
Right.
it needs to go by the wayside. Because remember when we
And
couldn't vote?
yeah,
I think
Like,
well, it's been,
right?
it's traditionally
Yeah.
where it's a patriarchal society, and we're taught that we should not. If the women
Yeah,
got
that's not what
together,
that's not
and
what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm
well,
talking
about
about
coming
the
together,
different factions of women
right?
competing because of whatever they feel that their group is better or whatever. We don't have the numbers unless we unite. Like, that's the bottom line in grassroots organizing. If we
Right.
are not all women united, then it gets to be a patriarchal because they started before us, right? And I don't,
That's why I was
yeah,
going with that. So
right. I'm
Now
not
listen,
against men at
that's
all.
why the
I'm
Women's
not
Poker Association is so important.
right.
Okay.
Totally.
The
Yeah.
Women's Poker Association is for every single female poker player. It's
100%.
free to join.
Right.
It is recognized by our industry. They actually, I mean, the work has been done. Okay. So now when we want something from the industry, we can have a voice,
Yeah.
a total voice. So
Right.
I don't care if you are a podcast or a learning place, or you're a tour, or if you're care what you are, you should still be a member of the Women's Poker Association, because it is not any of those things. It is literally an association to move the women forward in the industry. You can become an advocate if you want to, and
I
you
am.
can, let's say you play at ABC Casino down the
Mhm.
road, and you play there all the time. Well, you know what? You should consider being a representative for the Women's Poker Association for that room.
Right.
Okay.
Hear
That
that,
way you
ladies?
can communicate to that from that room to the Women's Poker Association, and they can support your efforts in that room.
Right.
Because the voice is very strong. We had talked about the raise, or maybe we haven't talked about the raise
No,
it up
that's where I
movement.
want to go next, because also
Okay.
that and the purple tie guy, because
And the purple tie
you
guy.
guys are encouraging men. I think it's like a very small percentage of men that give me a hard time personally, or I see give other women. Maybe your experience differs, but most of this channel viewers are men. I think just because more men are in poker, so the YouTube algorithm shows it to them. We're having more ladies every week. That goes up a little bit as we spread the word and our guests spread the word. But
Sure.
I think that's the most important thing, is that we as ladies are remembering that we're not against men at all. We're not competing with men. We don't
No.
hate men. We encourage you guys to support
I
us,
love
because
men.
our last, yeah, I love men too. Our last episode was Rachel saying, basically showing the math that if we had as many ladies as men like we should have, the WSOP main event would have paid double what it paid, right? Because there's more of us and we pay our money to play. But yeah, that's where yeah, go ahead. So how do you think we?
So the Raise It Up program is literally asking operators to raise up the respect and raise up the fun, so that we can raise the number of people who want to be there. Okay. And that really means that they need to have policies in place, and they need to do in-servicing with their staff, so that when somebody goes to play there, that they know that there are zero tolerance policies as far as abuse or disrespect. If I'm going to play in your room and I'm going to get disrespected by another player or a staff member, that you have a policy in place to deal with that.
Right.
So that
Exactly. Because
person
they don't.
knows,
A lot of them don't.
right, that not everybody does. I mean, let me just say, when you're an operator, you walk a very fine line. because it's a bottom line business, right? You need to make X number of dollars to keep the lights on, to keep the staff running, to do all those things. So when you've got a real jerk in your room and he is there 15 hours a day, every day, and
Regulars.
they know that he's a jerk, they have to be very careful about how they treat this guy because he literally is paying the bills on that room. But
Yeah.
for every one jerk, and this is our message to operators, for one jerk, there might be another 9 players, 18 players, or maybe 30 players that are surrounding the jerk who are watching his behavior. And they know that maybe at that moment they aren't the target of that jerk, but someday they might be because they're going to be seated next to him. And
Yeah.
if they see that the poker room does zero to deal with this jerk, then that's a strong message, right? But if they see that they go to the jerk and they say, dude, not today. No,
Mm-hmm.
you need to go take a break. You need to take a walk. We're going to pick you up today. Now I see that guy can be a jerk and he's got, different levels of jerkness. But the day that he crosses the line, they pick him up and
Mm-hmm.
they say, today you don't get to play here.
Right.
That's a strong message. That's what
Yeah.
we want. We want the operators to raise it up. And so the Women's Poker Association is sending that message to all operators because we know that when we have a friendly environment to play in, we want to be there. And if a woman feels respected and protected,
Safe.
she is going to be more apt to go into an environment that might be a little hostile. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because poker's not church, baby. It's not.
No,
And
that
there
is
is a
true.
factor in the game that requires you to have that element to where you can poke at a player, right? Maybe not
Mm-hmm.
in a disrespectful way, but you might say, "Hey, what you got there? What are you
Yeah.
trying to do here?
Yeah.
Don't you see it's my big blind or whatever it is?" That stuff
Yeah.
happens every single freaking day in a poker room,
Mm-hmm.
but it can be intimidating. And so, but if overall there is nothing that is directed in in a I don't want to say negative way, but well, kind of in an abusive way,
Yeah.
that you're going to feel protected. So that's what we want. We certify or recommend. We give if that room has those policies in place and they're doing the in-servicing with their staff, then the Women's Poker Association is going to certify them. They're going to give them a certificate that literally can go on the wall. So when a player sees that, they know there are policies in place,
Yeah.
so that if she calls upon a floor person or a dealer to get a floor person, because we really try not to make dealers in that place. They need to be on a very small level. They need to be able to turn to their floor and let the floor handle it. Because really, uh, it starts with a dealer, but it should go to higher management to be able to deal with. So then we know that that's there, and we can recommend them. We can say, "Hey, ladies, ABC Casino over here is a raise it up room, and they are having serious conversations in their room about zero tolerance policies and
Yeah.
about how to in service and protect you."
Well,
So
even the fact that they've done it, right, shows that they think it's important that the ladies who go there feel safe, right?
yeah.
And I have seen, like, at Lucky Lady, a guy got mad and threw cards in a dealer's face and called her the B word. And she was young and she just sat there and shaking because she was so upset, but she put her head down. She didn't want to cry or say anything. And I got up. I said, no, that is not no. And I called the floor, Russ, and I said, told him what this guy just did. And he did it and he left. Like, he was pretty much running out the door. And Russ went out, followed him, and came back and said, he's done. He's banned forever. And she looked so surprised, the dealer. I felt like he needed something, right? And they don't have a policy, so Russ did the best. And I utterly respect you. If you don't have any other recourse, then do that. And then the whole
Mhm.
table became men sort of against the dealer and I, the women, because it was too harsh. But I don't care. At that point, I'm going to err on the side of
You
safety.
throw some
This,
cards
yeah,
in my face, baby.
I would have, yeah.
He's
She was right
lucky
next to
that
me
she
too.
was somebody who was a introverted person,
Totally. Yeah.
because another woman might
Yeah.
not have
Like,
taken it that way.
yeah, like I've had dudes kick me at the table. I've had the weirdest stuff. Yeah, I had a schizophrenic at the table say he wanted to stab me this
Ooh,
past year. We get some crazy stuff in LA, and I feel like the rooms,
I
I
don't think
mean,
it's exclusive.
yeah, that's true.
There's
You're
some,
right.
you know,
It's
there's
in
a
a
lot of
poker room.
just
Yeah.
in gaming in general. There's some
Yeah.
interesting people, you know.
Totally. And I like the point you made. This guy, it was a cash, and he had such a big stack in on a 2-3 game, I think. Thousands. I don't even know how they were letting him do whatever he wanted, but when he started,
Mm.
and then he picked on a dude next to him who was a big dude and started making fun of his name. And the dude just looked at him like, I'm gonna just flick you and you're gonna fly. But they had to decide, do we want all that rake, or do we need to keep the other? Because now you had 3 players. He's irritated, 4 of us. And then when the female who was hosting the 2-3 came, and I told her the males did nothing. The hosts at the casino did nothing. She came back and said, no, we're shutting down that table then. He needs to go. He needs to go right now. Why?
Mhm,
Because we have common sense. I don't know. Like, I was a little
mhm,
myth that I used to work in psych, so I knew immediately this guy's dangerous. He's probably
mhm,
on something serious, and
mhm.
he's violent. Like, he's saying the craziest stuff. Like, why? Who cares how much money he has? Like, that's where a policy for somebody who's threatened now 3 or 4 people. Like,
Yeah, it's got to go. It's got to
yeah,
go.
it's,
And that's why
yeah,
the purple tie guy was so important to us,
yes.
because really what a purple tie guy, what WPA's color is purple. Okay. And we sat there for the longest time thinking, what symbol immediately identifies a male,
A
outside of
tie.
the male
Yeah,
symbol,
a
the
tie.
male female symbol.
Mm-hmm.
We
Love
didn't
it.
want to go there. We
Mm-mm.
wanted it to be something cute.
Yeah. And
You
blue
know?
and pink, right?
Yeah. So it
Yeah,
was
right.
like, well, purple is our color, and a tie is pretty much, I mean, women wear ties too, but mostly it's men, and it's symbolic of a male. So we said, listen, if they're wearing a purple tie, that means that they support women, right? So it was the purple tie guy. And we turned it on to a couple of people who were big in the industry, Matt Savage, and just some prominent poker male players, and they went, that's kind of cool. I'll do that. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm a purple tie guy. I support you. And I said, but it's more important than just that you support us. If you see something going down at the table, will you stop it? Okay. And
Mhm.
they're like, 100%.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the very first indication to us that if we had something
Mhm.
that the guys could throw on their backpack, put it on their poker jacket, put it in their whatever, that if a woman saw that he was a purple tie guy, he's got her back.
Yeah.
And that was, now I don't know where it's at in the big picture of things, but I have
Mhm.
my purple tie guy patches, and I'm always sticking them
Yeah. I'll give some
on
out.
our
We
guys and
we
saying,
have a
hey,
whole episode with Christina Black on.
oh,
It was one of our first guests. I think she might have been our first, episode 4, I think. You can find it in the list. It says WSOP something in the Raise It Up program. So yeah,
yeah,
I wanted to hear about the starting of it, and I want to know, like, why do you think so many card rooms and a few men are against this, opening it up and encouraging more women? I've had one guy tell me after listening to a podcast that he doesn't think it's a good place for women, which is, I'm like, touche, exactly. You made my point. But why do you think that we get some pushback
a
or some
pushback.
hostility when it is growing the whole game?
Well, I think that change is hard for a lot of people. That's the first thing. I also think that there's still a mentality of that the poker's seedy. It's a
The
place
stigma.
where you don't want to bring your mom or your daughter.
Yeah.
You know, it's very much a good old boys club, and there are still gentlemen's clubs out there. Okay. Now, we know that poker, like chess or backgammon or some of these very highly strategic games, women are amazing players. So we know that we need to interject ourselves because it's one of the few things in the world where we can be unequal at a table with our male counterparts. We can't compete with them physically, never, almost ever.
Yeah.
But we can in poker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that there's a learning curve in all things, and we need to show, operators, and we need to also let them know, listen, there is a whole market that you are not tapping into, and we are a bottom line business,
Yep.
right? And so when I try to tell operators, it's funny because if you start talking to casino operators about how we need to host newbie classes for the women that are over in your casino playing slots and bingo and this and that, we want to introduce them to another way that they can spend time in your facility. We get a big pushback because they don't want them away from the slots.
Right.
Right? Because slots are the #1 real estate in a casino.
Wow.
So where you start the movement is in card rooms, not casinos.
Okay.
If a card room opens their doors up to women, now they don't have other distractions. They don't have things that they could take them away from. Right? So it's an interesting conversation. Now they're going, oh, you mean you can bring me an extra 20 players on a routine basis if we start these classes?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. Oh, but what's really funny is intimidation is not gender specific.
True.
Because I have remember I said that I started off in poker online.
Mm-hmm.
The numbers of women who play online are way bigger than
I started online
in the live arena. Okay. You still have men who won't cross over from the online venues to the live venues because they're intimidated.
Oh, I could see that. Yeah.
It's interesting.
And
They're
you have
like,
men that get chased
but their
off.
intimidation is different than our intimidation. I think our intimidation goes a little bit more to, ooh, am I going to be protected? It's like, oh, these are guys. These are a bunch of guys. Where a guy going into their intimidation factor is they don't want to look stupid.
True. Yeah.
They don't want to ask what that, how they say men don't stop for directions because they don't want to look stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they don't want to walk into the poker room and not know that they're supposed to go to the podium to sign up on a list. And this is where they go and they get chips for their money. And when they sit at the table, they're going to have to move their, the button goes around. They're going to have to put in their chips. It is terribly intimidating to a brand new guy as well.
That's a great point.
I feel like every poker room needs to do not only newbie classes for everyone. Granted, I want them to do them for women, but I think they need to be open. They also need to do tours in poker rooms.
Yeah.
They need to say, hey, this is what you do when you come into a poker room. This is the guy, this is the uniform they wear. This is where you sign up. This is where you're going to go. We will do this for you. We need you to have a player's card. All the newbie stuff.
Yeah.
And my hope is that the Women's Poker Association will create videos at every single operator, everywhere, and have them available on their website that says, this is what you do, this is where you go, da 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 da, so that immediately that eliminates that factor for everybody,
I love
and
that.
everybody can use it, but it's really for women. But
yeah, that's what I envisioned this podcast was. And I have video clips of me going to the poker rooms. This is how I park for safety. This is where I park at this I don't know now if they're casinos or card rooms. I'll have to ask you that later, but and this is
Well, a
how I,
casino has
oh yeah, tell me.
slots and all this other stuff.
Oh, so ours are
A
card
card
rooms.
room you see in California, not like,
Okay.
okay, the
Cal
difference between
games. We
Thunder
have
Valley
Cal
and
games.
Ocean's 11.
Which one has slots? The Thunder Valley?
Yeah.
I think it does. Okay. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
in casinos.
Okay.
They
Good
have
to
all
know.
slots.
Yeah.
But and then there is casino games like table games in some of these card rooms too.
Yeah, we
But
have
really
Cal
the difference
games.
is between
Yeah.
slots
Right.
and
Okay.
non
I was
no slots.
told that they don't make as much off us tournament players or card players in general, even cash, that they want Cal players. They make more money off of
Of course.
blackjack and those things. Yeah. They're even
Because
for,
this
yeah.
this town that I live in, Las Vegas, was not built on poker.
Right.
It was built on slots
And
and table
blackjack
games.
and yeah, the
Yeah,
things
that's
where
where they
you
make
have
their
less
money.
chance
You're
to
playing
win.
the
Yeah.
house.
The
In
house.
poker, you're playing players.
We can't hear you, Sandy. You got muted again. I don't know
Poor
how that
Sandy.
happened. We'll come back to you. Yeah. She leans back and somehow she gets muted. It happened last time.
Oh,
Let me know when you're back on so
I'm
we can.
back.
Okay, good. Did you want to say something?
I'm back.
Okay, good.
No.
Yeah. So now I've lost where we were. I
you're just
can.
talking about how they
yeah.
make so much more money,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's the bottom
So
line. I love that you guys are doing that. I
thank
love
you.
that you guys
Yeah.
are thinking outside of what the messages need to be, because I know a lot of women who will walk out and they just won $25,000 in a tournament and they go straight to their car
Nope.
by themselves.
Yeah.
And
No,
it's
not
like,
even with
girlfriend.
500. You don't do that by
Yeah,
yourself.
you
Yeah.
don't.
And so I'm going to work on that video because I was terrified when I first started playing live tournaments. I had played on vacation in Vegas with my husband, maybe like a Sunday Green Valley Ranch tournaments, and I was good at it. Then I played online when I was sick and when my daughter was little, and I super micro, but I could win those tournaments after a while. I started studying it, but after my daughter moved out, right before the pandemic, she was in college and I had some more free time. Going to the Hustler, scary. As a woman, like I had played cash there with my husband, but I was able to ask people, where's the tournament room? Where do I sign up? But then there's an intimidation factor, so you're trying not to look like you don't know what you're doing.
Mhm.
And I remember like it would be on me and I was shaking. Like that's how nervous I was. Like you said, we don't want to look stupid. We don't want to do the wrong thing.
Mhm.
And there were definitely men who were taking full advantage and a few women. And one lady, a guy kept doing that. He was drunk and belligerent and he kept like coming over the top and shutting me down. And I would get scared and fold. And then I just waited after I figured out what he was doing. I exploited and I stacked him. And she just looked at me and like nodded and said, don't let him do that to you. Like, wait till do exactly what you did. And I was like, okay.
Mhm.
Like that meant the
Mhm.
world. I might not have come back.
I have a little
Experiences.
funny story for you about that.
Yeah.
My daughter does not play poker. My daughter helps with the charity end of our stuff. So like when you see our stuff set up for sales, merchandise and all that, she runs all that stuff
I met her.
for our
Yeah.
charity.
I have a little thing I bought
So
from her.
my daughter and I go to the Christmas event for the Wednesday poker discussion group, which is the longest running study group of
Is that
poker in
Ryan
history.
LaPlante? Ryan LaPlante?
Over here, yes, it's here
Okay.
it's in Las Vegas. It's been here for over 25 years that I can remember. But anyway, we have a Christmas party.
Nice.
And of course, we play a poker tournament at the Christmas party. My daughter's playing. My daughter's on medication, and the medication makes her shake.
Oh.
She has no idea how to play poker. And she's like, oh, I'm not going to play that. I don't play poker. Well, Kenneth James says, you're going to play. We want you to play. I'm going to buy you in. And he goes, you see these cards? You see, if you get these cards, you raise it. If you have these, if it's this card, then you can just call it. Everything else you're going to fold. She goes, okay. That's all he tells her. She sits down and she's so doing this. And
Yeah.
it's all about medication. They have no
Right.
idea if she's raising or nervous or whatever. They were so baffled by her. She wound up making final table.
Wow.
Wow, that's
And
great.
it was
They
all
did.
because she shakes.
That's so funny.
I do that
Yeah.
when I don't eat and I haven't eaten, and I do intermittent fasting and I don't eat for 16 to 18 hours, and then I go play a tournament. I'm like, I'm not shaking because I'm nervous. I'm shaking because I'm hungry. So don't think I'm nervous. That's not what I'm doing. That's hilarious.
That's
But
hilarious.
they think you're nervous. So they try to take
So
advantage of
looking
the
at me, you
situation.
know, I don't ever go 16 or 18. It's like, oh, dude, that sounds foreign.
Yeah, I think there are different methods. I just heard a pro talking about his type of intermittent fasting, and of course, I'm a 30-year nutritionist, so I'm listening and I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to do something on that as well. Like what is, because I've used CGMs, continuous glucose monitors, to see, but everybody's different. I think figuring out what works for you is the
Oh,
most
yeah.
important thing. And yeah, if my blood sugar goes low, forget it. I cannot play. I need to get off the
Well, I don't think
table.
anybody can.
Yeah,
No.
that's true.
You know, your
Most
brain
and
cells just kind of go away.
yeah, and
You know.
everybody's different what's going to cause the low blood sugar and how long. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's definitely a
Um,
big factor.
what's the
That's a good one.
future? What's the next step for women in poker and lips?
And
Um,
how
well,
can people
I'm not
help?
sure exactly. You know, this is our 20-year anniversary. Did I think that we would be doing this 20 years? No.
I hope you did.
But I love it, you know, and
Yeah.
it's like I don't, but it also means that I'm 20 years older, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm 66, and it's like I'm
Wow.
digging the whole kind of semi-retirement thing and kind of doing all these things that I love. I think that there will be a transition of what happens with lips. I think that I'm going to pick the things that I love in the lips part of things and do concentrate on those
That's
events.
great.
And then the rest of the events, I will, you know, have people who want to do them or whatever. I
Delegate.
definitely
Yes,
want to make sure
delegate.
that we support the Women's Poker Association. So I'm hoping that, you know, the fees portion of it will go towards that.
Love it. Love it.
I love that it is global now. I love that that women are starting to understand that it's I think that what happened is when Women's Poker Association started, they saw me and they were confused about what it was versus what Lips is and I try to tell them, you know, Lips is a poker tour and it's a business. It's
Right.
just like Pepsi Cola is a business.
Right.
Right.
You know, so if you are Coca-Cola and you want to do stuff with Lips, it's not necessarily going to happen, right? But the Women's Poker Association is the Coke, not shouldn't say Coke, the Soda Association.
Right.
Right.
It's
Right.
about all soda, you
All
know.
women
So
in poker.
It's the
yes, so the
umbrella
women's
where lips falls under. It's the umbrella
Right.
that
yeah,
covers everything. Yeah.
it's just one more thing for women. You know,
Right.
and I believe and I want people to know that if you are a Coke or you're let's say you're an educational person or or you sell merchandise or whatever it is that you do around poker and women in poker needs to be part of the Women's Poker Association. Okay, everybody does.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean that if you sell merchandise and they sell merchandise and they sell merchandise, that they're all going to do it together. That's not going to happen, right?
Right.
So you have to look at it's kind of like here's a good example. The Tournament Directors Association is for all tournament directors.
Yeah.
Everybody who runs a tournament, either a manager at a poker room or a tournament director itself. The association is for all of those people. But yet there's Caesars and there's, you know, MGM, and then they're not necessarily working together,
Yeah.
you know, but they all work for the good of tournament in the Tournament Directors Association. So
Right. I'm
use
following
the
their most
WPA
recent
that
stuff.
way.
Right.
It needs
And
to be. And then if you are a person who does a women's organization or a group, be a part of it. You
of
know, bring
course, yeah.
whatever it is to them,
I
you
am.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an advocate. I'm a volunteer. There's not a lot to do yet, but I
Yay!
have been since I met you at that thing. I'm like, sign me up, sign me up.
Yeah,
We haven't had
that's
any
so great.
tournaments here, so I've had nothing. I
But
texted
you
you
know
for a
what?
while
You need to
after.
find your room that you are in all the time.
Yeah.
And that's where you start. You
Okay.
become the
Yeah.
advocate for them
Yeah.
and the
There's a few,
association.
but I'm going to talk to you more about that.
Yeah,
How to
and maybe
do
you
that.
pick
Yeah.
yours and then you can do 2 or 3 or whatever, but that's a lot of
Yeah.
work. But find some other women that are
Yeah.
in those. you know,
Oh
to
yeah. And I
kind of
invite
brew it.
women. Like I've invited some of the Pocket Queens, which is the online study group. That's our last episode. You guys, there's tons of us in there who
I
I've
love those
said
people, by the way. Just
they're
saying.
they're amazing, right? And
Yeah.
most of them join WPA or I encourage them to. And
Mhm.
I've brought women from the card room. I met a nice lady named Brooke who was new to poker. She joined Pocket Queen. She joined WPA. Like
That's
I
so great.
love just including nice people, not the
That's right.
troublemakers, but for sure all of us women. I noticed WPA, I'm really into branding. I think they changed some of their wording to say uniting women. Was that recent? Yeah,
Maybe.
that's so key.
See,
Unite, unite.
I'm not in the leadership anymore.
Oh, okay, that makes
So
sense. Yeah,
I haven't been in leadership now for, I want to say this is my third year.
good
And
for
that was
you.
by design.
Yeah,
Right.
of
You know, it
course.
was like, look,
Too much stuff to do.
I'm gonna establish this and this is what it's gonna
You
look, you know,
ladies take it. Yeah.
this is where it needs to be, but I have to step away because it needs to have its own legs.
Yes.
It needs to grow beyond
Right.
me
I love it.
or somebody who's already really dedicated 100% of their life to this. It needs to step away
Right.
because first of all, I want to see younger women.
Yep.
Younger women are doing different things in poker
Yeah.
than
Right.
us old broads. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to see their voices and their talents and their energies being uplifted amongst themselves. And I will support them in any way I can, of course. But I don't, I think that it needed to be that. And I'm so proud of these women. And when I hear there's somebody else that's an advocate, I'm like, yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
You know, I just love it. I think there's room for anybody and anybody who has extra time or a passion for it, do it. You know, because
Right.
it's a volunteer position.
Which is fine with
Unfortunately,
me.
we
I
don't
do
have
a
a
lot
lot
of
of money.
volunteer stuff. Yeah.
It
Right.
does. We have to
Yeah.
do it. And you know, maybe at some point in some place that we can get support from the industry financially, that it might change a little bit and be able to throw some dollars at some people to
Right.
run it or whatever, but who
Yeah.
knows? But you know, for now, that's what it is, and I love it. I
But
love it.
you created this thing and now it's more autonomous. It can have
Mhm.
legacy. And I love that instead of like the tendency to, we talked to Rachel about this, be controlling and want to like sort of
Yeah.
keep it safe. And no, that's not how big movements
Oh, it is
grow.
hard to
Yeah.
let your babies go to college.
I can't even, yeah, I know. Like, yeah, that's, you got to find a new
Yep.
baby and also
Yeah.
just, but
Which
you,
my new baby, I have a very big passion for mixed games.
I saw
I am
that.
a
I saw that.
mixed game player. I hate Hold'em. Did I say that out loud? Yes.
Yeah. I have a
I
friend
am
who's
not a
been
Hold'em
teaching
player.
me
I'm
mixed
not a no
games.
limit player either. I
How do
am
we
a
find
limit
that? Yeah.
mixed game girl.
I want to learn. How do we
So,
find that?
so I'm kind of excited. There's a couple of things that are happening in the live venue. Um, Resorts World has agreed to let me use their room to teach. And I'm teaching all people, not just women,
That's
but
great.
women and men. Anybody who wants to learn a mixed game. I also am hoping that when the venue opens up at the Venetian for streaming, that
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be able to do classes there, and
Oh,
it'll be streamed, and we'll be
awesome.
able to share those and record them and keep them out there so that people can be interactive, you know, that aren't here in Las Vegas.
Smart.
And I know that if you don't know Tommy LaRosa over at the Venetian, he has always been supportive of women in poker. And they have been very, very active in making sure that the environment is very inclusive for women.
Awesome.
The
So,
problem is in California, especially LA, they don't have a lot of mixed games because they don't make money. The rake is too slow for the casinos
Yeah, they had
here.
one the other
They
night.
they have
Yeah,
well,
the
not
mixed
there's
much.
game.
alternatives to that. You know, in that number one, hey, I'm sorry, but poker used to all be mixed games.
It did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
didn't know that.
there's
It's not about, but
time.
it's not
I mean,
about making it better for players. They just want to make their money. I
Yeah.
but
try, like I'll go to
they
certain
can do
casinos and ask them
time.
to add mixed games. I know, I asked them to add like a table. There's always people interested in the mixed games and they just won't do it because they either don't have dealers, it's too slow for them because they don't rake enough money. So it's trying to
Right.
get them to open it up. But I know Vegas has a lot more. I love mixed games. What's your
Yes.
favorite mixed game to play?
But also, how do we get them to do it? I want to know after she
Well,
answers that
there's two
question.
things.
Well,
I'm
it's
I'm a
it's not
real
enough money here.
junkie. I'm not when you say favorite,
Like I love Big O. That's my favorite mixed game, the high
okay,
low.
so that's just one game though. We play
Yeah.
mixed games where we play dual games in one hand.
Oh,
So we
like
play like
Dramaha?
drama, yeah, like let's say a Dramaha
Yeah,
49,
I play that.
where
Yeah.
you've got a game in your hand and you've got a game on the board. Or we play a Badusi,
Yeah.
or a Badaisi,
Badugi,
where you're
Badusi,
playing a
yeah,
deuce
all
to
of them.
seven and
Yeah.
so we really play the
Wow.
mixed games.
Right.
But I love if there is a single game that I
Right.
love Omaha High-Low. That's my favorite.
Me
Okay.
too. I love the 5 card
So
one.
Big O is good. I like Big O 8, but that's, crazy too. But anyway, I love that they say that, because my answer to that is then do it off of seat time versus a drop. You rent your seat.
Oh, charge
That way
that
they
way.
get their money.
Are they,
Yeah.
is that
So
legal
it's like
here?
I don't think
every,
that's legal here.
sure it is. Yes, it
In
is. You can,
California,
you
they
can,
can charge?
yes, because
Hmm.
they're paying you you average it out what it is, and then that's what you pay. So
Is
you
there,
pay
I've
by
never
the
heard of that.
hour, you pay by the half hour, you pay whatever it
like they
is.
do in Austin, I think, those card rooms charge like a fee per hour and a
They
membership or
do.
something?
They're paying,
Yeah.
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 All the card rooms in Texas are like that.
Right.
But that's
I've never heard
because,
that
but
here.
that's not, I mean, they do that here in the big games that are here in Las Vegas.
Hmm.
That's by the hour.
So which rooms, because when I go there next time, where can we find the best mixed games? Is it waiting
Well,
until
the
the
Resorts World
Venetian?
is always has the most.
Oh, good to know.
They are
Okay.
picking up mixed games at South Point, and they're picking up mixed games at, they do tournament mixed games at Orleans.
Okay. South Point.
The Venetian is picking up mixed games. People are starting to feel it because the
Awesome.
demand is coming. And I think that
Orleans.
overall, I understand that they all need their money and no limit will always be there, but it's limit that will sustain poker, because people
Okay.
don't go through their bankrolls as fast.
Yeah. And more
I
people
mean,
are heading that direction. I have a
yeah, I
friend
mean,
who's been
if
crushing
I
it.
come in with
Yeah.
$300 to play my session,
Hmm.
and I have 2 beats in no limit poker, it's gone. And that could happen in 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, totally. Sooner.
Well,
Sooner.
that can't happen in limit poker, and they're still dropping. They're still dropping.
Yeah.
So I think that limit poker helps the game overall, and it helps the casino sustain their time too. Because what if they have 3 or 4 or 5 people? Now your game's broke
Right.
and they don't have a game.
Right.
The
Totally.
whole table
Yeah.
breaks.
Yeah.
So in limit poker, that doesn't happen. People are going to play for 8 hours
Yeah. Barbara
on the same
Enright
money.
said she loved limit. She plays higher stakes limit here in
Yes.
LA. So
A 10-20
yeah,
game is a great game
she said
for
2040.
for both the casino and for
I
poker
gotta try
players.
it. Yeah. And sign me up. Tell me when it's done and I wanna learn
Yeah,
it. I want to take the
I will.
classes.
Wait, the only thing we're
Yeah.
waiting on is approval from gaming to be able to use my chips and my cards so that I don't have to interfere with the casino operations.
Okay.
So, but I'm a third
Wow.
party gaming operator, so I already have a
Awesome.
license. So I can so they're more apt to give it to me.
Yeah. Wow.
So far. And they're just trying to figure out why they can't.
Yeah. To see
So
if
far
there's
they haven't
any.
come up with it, but
Awesome.
so that's the thing. I will
Yeah.
bring in my own, and I don't know what the process is, and this is a casino. I mean,
Right.
they are regulated, and
Yeah.
so I have to comply. And if it means that they have to use their chips and their cards, then they're going to have to be able
Yeah.
to issue those to me, and I'll have to give them back to them in deck, right? So
You are a
um,
force, Lupe.
we'll see.
You are a force, and I
Got to
love
make
it.
it
I
happen,
love
baby,
it.
because I
Yeah,
want
and
to be
you
able to do it
do.
all across the country.
Yes, I
You
love
know
it.
how we have Poker Power and they're teaching
Yeah.
people
Oh,
over
I
there?
love
That's
that
what I want to do
too.
with mixed games.
Yes, do it. And maybe
Hmm.
maybe they can, I mean, their app made it so easy for a couple of my friends and my daughter to learn more specifically. My daughter grew up with us, so we play at home, but my friends had no idea about poker. They have the little tutorial on there. Do you have
Hmm.
anything online or just in person for now and stream
The
them
only
or
thing I
something?
have, and I don't know if it's still there, but when I was with Women's Poker Association, I did do the basics for horse. I did
Okay.
tutorials. and I put them
Nice.
online, and but they're old and they need to be redone.
I'll have to look for those.
And then we, it is a progression. I
Yeah.
want to teach the games of horse, and then you need to learn a Badoogie game. You need to learn a triple draw game
Yeah.
to be complete.
I'm
And
there.
then from there, you learn the variants of
Okay.
poker.
Well,
Interesting.
this has been a pleasure talking to
I
you,
have a couple
and
more
I can't wait.
questions.
I have to go, so you guys can
Okay,
finish up
you
if
can
you want.
sign off. Yeah, I have
But
a
I just
couple
want to
more
say,
questions.
can I say
Sandy,
thank
thank you
you?
so much.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's
It was
been
great
great to
meeting
meet
you.
you, and I can't wait to do a Lips event, and hopefully I can get going on that cruise in March. I'm really looking forward to it.
Come on, girl. We want you.
All
It's
right,
so much
bye.
fun. All
Thank
Bye.
right,
you.
take
Bye.
care.
So I just wanted to know two things. One is your podcast that I caught recently with Mizrahi. Was it Michael? I think it was Michael Mizrahi.
It was Robert. It
Yeah.
was
Oh,
Robert.
Robert. So I want to know about your
Mhm.
podcast, and then I wanted to get your take on Royal Card Room, what you're doing, what you think about Lisa Piquel. I know you had the lip stream there, and that going all in on ladies in poker.
Okay, so we have a podcast. I am like the OG on the
Yeah,
podcast. It's the Real Poker Girls of Las Vegas.
I love it.
And it's Rebecca Scales and Tatiana Fox. And we meet whenever Tatiana can come. She lives in Australia, and she comes all
Oh,
the way over here. When she's here, we put in our podcasts, and
oh, you only do it in
we're
person.
very, very different women in
Yeah.
very different perspectives of the world. They're
Hmm.
younger than me. They're a couple, a lot of- almost 20 years younger than me. And they're young, they're mothers, they're still raising families. They're very smart, talented girls. And they're very cool and hip, and I'm all an old broad,
Oh,
so it's
stop.
fun to
Yeah.
be with them. And to listen to their experiences in poker versus my experiences in poker. Because they're hot, cute, and all that kind of stuff. So how they interact at the table is very different than I do. I'm the grandma, it's like, hey, sonny boy,
You're not the
it's
grandma,
fun.
but I'm right behind you.
Ah, 66,
Yeah.
girl. I
Yeah.
am definitely,
Yeah.
a senior,
Yeah.
and I
But
can play the super senior,
yeah, barely. You just
So
slid in there. Yeah.
yeah.
But
But we try to get perspective of what's happening here in Vegas, and how people can get involved, on the different things that are happening, or the controversial things that happen out here, or the new poker rooms that are happening, or the new things,
love it.
the new
Yeah.
promotions.
And the
Vegas
interviews.
is very unique, you know.
Yeah.
We have like we're a poker mecca,
Right.
in comparison to
And
other
you're right in the
places.
center. You're in the
Hmm.
middle of the women in poker there. So
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I was doing some research for this podcast, and I just